Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? JBosa here, and joining me once again, guess who it is? It's Mike, aka Megaluch. Mike, how you doing?
What's going on?
I'm glad you're here. We are in a new studio location.
Mm-hmm.
I just moved, and I've moved the whole studio, and here we are doing our podcast at our new location. And we're gonna get started with a request from one of our listeners. Now, like I said earlier on this podcast is for the people that essentially know us. We're just getting started, and if you're compelled by these conversations in any way, you have a say. And so this request came from Dan, and essentially what we're doing is censoring platforms part 2 with the recent unfortunate shooting of the Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh that created also another media debate around the site gab.com. Now, Mike, I'm going to let you open. What do you know so far about gab.com?
Well, I never heard of Gab until this happened, and
Yeah, same.
I didn't know anything about this, but apparently, according to what I've been reading, it's allegedly friendly to white supremacy and alt-right and whatever it is, and that kind of brings up a bizarre ethical question because, I mean, YouTube has been censoring a lot of right-wing points of views, but the backlash to that is that other media or whatever you call it, groups or entities, whatever, just spring up, and then they take the alt right people and put them somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then that goes away. So it's like this weird whack-a-mole situation where they want this point of view to be suppressed, but my theory is the more you try to suppress it, the more attractive it becomes,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
now there's just no getting around this or getting away from it at this point. I mean, this is what we are dealing with now, and I think it's preposterous and it's probably not going to work. The intention is not there of what they want, and I use they loosely. The left wing, whatever you want to call them,
hmm
the left is not going to get what they want by doing what they're doing.
Well, the left wing obviously is we're out of balance right now with these two political parties and these two ideologies in life. And the left is essentially, let's say, winning
Mm,
or more powerful or more outspoken.
mm,
With Gab.com, it's not necessarily a site for right wingers. It's where they found a home. It's Gab.com sanctions free speech.
mm.
No matter what you say, they're not going to take it down. And that was their main platform. Like they believe in free speech, whether it's bad speech, whether it's hate speech, they're leaving it as a public forum, and that's what we were talking about in our last episode of Censoring Platforms, which
Yep.
was season 0, episode 1. That's our very first podcast. So we're kind of expanding on that.
Mm.
I'm losing my train
Well,
of
no,
thought
but I
because
mean,
I'm plugging our earlier
the
episode.
whole thing is that
Oh, the freedom of speech thing.
it is a weird thing that freedom has become so scary because bad people are going to use freedom to say what they want to say. I mean, back in the day, if you didn't just conform to a very Christian point of view, you were a fucking heretic, and
Yes,
you should not have a point of view outside of Christianity.
and they excommunicate you, and if it's really
Yeah,
bad, they'll burn you at the
and
stake.
there's still that going around across the world in a lot of different contexts. I mean, if you're a Mormon in Utah and you speak out against Mormonism, you commit social suicide. You're no longer part of your tribe anymore, and they ostracize you. And there's a theory that I've been listening to recently that I'm not supporting this theory, but it's just something that we have to talk about.
Okay.
Is the left wing the modern left wing and how unreasonable it's become? Is it a new religion at this point? I mean,
Hmm.
it's not quite technically a religion.
You got to let me jump in.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, it's not a religion, and man, it's that's a tough one to tackle.
Yeah.
It it's not it's a belief system, but what happens is that the belief system was based in a self perception of goodness, and to an extent, there's a lot of good points on the left
Absolutely.
level. Like if people love each other, no matter what they are, they should be able to love each other. Like that's what I believe too.
Hmm.
Like just yeah, love is a good thing. Don't stop that. So
Sure.
if two men, two women, two all those other I
Wait,
don't want to get into that.
moving on. Moving
Yes,
on. Yep.
if they want to
Mm,
love each other, sure, like,
yep.
it's a good thing, and any kind of good that you bring, and you also should be able to make more decisions for yourself
Mm.
in terms of pro-life versus pro-choice and all that stuff. That's
Well,
a different debate, but
the weird thing is that people are so polarized right now, where you can't even question things anymore without, oh, you're a right winger now all of a sudden. It's like, no, I'm not a right winger, but I have questions, I have observations that I have to just kind of point out. And I don't see any utility in having a very black and white, left right paradigm that we're dealing with right now because it just leads to tribalism and chaos and all the stuff that humanity should be resisting, but we're not resisting it. And so many people have not spoken to anyone anymore because they voted for Trump or they didn't vote for Trump. And it's just this bizarre thing going on right now. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, but I'm not a right winger. I'm really not.
Neither am I.
I mean, I grew up very Republican, but I resisted it. But then when you look at the left in college and afterwards, you're like, well, they're just as crazy, so I'm not going to join that team now because it's like, no, I'm my own thing. I just want to be an individual. I just want to be a third party person observing everything. And I think in and what we're doing right now as a podcaster, it's kind of better to have this third party observer point of view
Yeah.
instead of I'm part of the right or I'm part of the left. Let's fight.
And
That doesn't work.
I'm really hoping that we hit a gray area, like
No.
a mid ground, because there is no mid ground represented. It's
No.
either the left or the right. Your super liberal view or your super radical alt right view. Like there is no middle ground. Like the other day, I got called a right winger,
Which is hilarious, but go ahead.
and I'm because I didn't agree with that person completely, and I was trying to distribute some logic. I got called a right winger.
And what kind? Can you talk about the actual specific, like
It,
why?
it
or?
was the Jordan Peterson, like the all the pronouns, and
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
yeah, I was taking the Jordan Peterson position on that because it was a freedom of speech thing. This is what we're talking about.
No.
So let's get to the core of this, Mike, and now we can kind of expand on our analysis of the situation. I was
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
"Whoa,
We
it's
get
been
it.
a while, guys.
Yeah.
I've been off. I just moved. So Gab.com claims to be a free speech site.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this in our first episode. Are they guilty by association? Should that site have been taken down because the Pittsburgh shooter of the Jewish synagogue was associated with that website?
Well, I would obviously vote no. I mean, obviously, I'm always going to vote for free speech, no matter what the cost. I mean, it's such a people take it for granted that you have freedom of speech, and I'm always going to vote for more speech and more communication and more talking and more debates and more arguing. Like, less is not more sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, more is more. So, just to sum up what happened in the Pittsburgh shooting, there was obviously a mass murder at a synagogue and everything. But right before the attack, and let's see, it's the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, HIAS, and that's kind of what he was rallying against. So he quoted on Gab, the HIAS likes to bring invaders in that kill our people. I can't sit by and watch my people get slaughtered. Screw your optics. I'm going in. That's what the mass murderer here posted on Gab before the shooting took place. Now, there's a couple of weird ironies to this because if the guy said something like that, if that has a red flag, now you know that this guy is going in, and you should, you can have that becomes a huge problem
Yeah.
though because people talk so much shit online, you can't go after everything.
Dude, there is so much shit talked online.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I had problems with my Gears of War events. People were like threatening each other, and it was really extreme trash talk.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, listen, I'm not banning anybody unless if you want to get authorities involved, then okay, I'll start banning people or preventing them from coming to the event. But if you can't get an authority involved, like you feel that threatened that you're going to call the police, I'm not going to consider it.
Yeah.
And so what this guy is saying online, I'm going in. Like, it sounded like an argument, or it sounded like he was out of his mind.
He is out of his mind. Technically, he's a lunatic.
Does
Like, that's what we're talking about here.
But did that mean he was going to go commit a mass murder? I would not interpret it that like he's going to commit a mass murder.
Well, there's a terrible concept of like when you have like terrorist attacks and everything. Anyone who's a soldier out there or police officer, I mean, you don't have to be right all the time, as a police officer. But the one time you're wrong, that's when something really terrible happens. You know what I mean? So it's a terror tactics. It's guerrilla warfare. That's what all these mass shooters are doing essentially. Where there's so much about this that just drives me insane. I'm just trying to be like rational about all this.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy murdered all older people. Like we're talking like people.
It's terrible.
54 is the youngest person I'm seeing in this. 54 and above. I'm seeing 97, 75, 84. people have to be so far gone as a person to murder a elderly person. Like that thought doesn't even make sense in my brain that anyone could do that. Like that concept doesn't really exist in my mind unless it happens. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
that doesn't make sense
You
at
can
all.
imagine strangling like someone who's aggressive and threatening you, or someone who's going to hurt your family. You can imagine actually wrapping your hands around their throat and killing them if they're really that much of a threat.
Yeah,
But a 75
those
year
are
old
fantasies. Yeah.
Jewish mother, like, are you really
Like
you really feel the need to murder this
they're not
person?
contributing to the
Really?
problem.
But there's a couple interesting things I gotta point out, and I want your take on this.
Go for it.
So the question that I wanted to ask you is it appropriate? Is there some utility? Whatever. Is it possible that we can have compassion for the murderer here in the hopes of solving the problem and getting rid of people like this? Because I feel like if you don't respond with compassion and understanding, all these things get worse because people hide and I can't talk about. I'm rambling a little bit, but like the angle I want to take on this is the murderer, this guy, whatever you want to call him, he could be anybody. He could be you, me. He could be really anyone. He's a human being at the end of the day. And I'm reading about his background a little bit. He had a terrible life. It's not justifying anything he's doing. But how do we have this guy not happen anymore? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we are a massively disconnected society
Mm,
because of mass media and mass perception.
sure.
Everything is mass. Everything is mass production, mass media, mass consumerism. Everything is mass. So the individual and like the community member is very alienish,
Sure.
and there's people that are going to get lost if people don't fit into the mass. Then what's going on? What are you? You're crazy, and you just get uh what's what I'm trying to get, like you kind of get thrown off to the side. You get
Yeah.
you don't go with, man, I really want this word right now, and it's just been a rough 2 weeks.
That's all right. But I'll
But
jump in a little bit if you want.
uh,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, everything's mass, so our communities are disconnected. Like, I just moved here, and it's kind of neat because it's a smaller town,
Mm,
and I went to a pizza place. It's like, hey, like, are you new around here? Because like, obviously I've never been there, and he
yep.
kind of recognized that.
No.
I never got that in like the area that I was living in.
Sure.
So I feel like there's mass disconnects from
Yeah,
people as
absolutely.
well.
I mean, I'm very much part of the worldview that people should have under 100, not too much, but you should have a tight group of people that are always around and like your tribe, your village. Like you should have people that you know intimately and that you know about their family. Like we have to be very much more connected to other people, and you can prevent that. I mean, you can prevent this kind of shit from happening. You can also prevent suicides. You can prevent drug abuse. You can prevent so many more problems, but it starts from the individual taking ownership of their personal responsibility and everything like that. But it also requires a tribe to look out for someone. I mean, it's cultural reinforcement, and that's what it really comes down to. I mean, you should culturally reinforce positive things. This guy, there's a little bit of things we got to address here. He said this group, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, was bringing in invaders that kill our people. Now, here's the weird thing about that. What's our people? Who are you talking about? Is that
Yeah.
the Christians? You're talking about white people? You're talking about like what's your? So this guy seems like a lonely, sad soul who had like he went down the path of mental illness where he created like a false narrative about what he's doing here. And he probably was trying to justify this as I'm going to do this and I'm going to get positive reinforcement from some kind of tribe
Ugh.
because I kill Jewish people and Jewish people are the them in the equation, you know? And look, every human is guilty of this. We dehumanize them all the time where they're not people, they're subhuman, whatever it is. That could be homeless people, it could be people on a different sports team. I'm always going to talk about this because it's the most interesting subject to talk about. But tribalism results in this kind of dehumanization, and it just leads to just chaos. But it's part of who we are. We have to address it.
I know I want to address it because the word I was coming up with was dismissed.
Okay.
So now, if you don't fit a mold, if you don't fit a them, if you don't fit an us, you are dismissed.
Sure.
Like me, sometimes in these arguments that I have with people, I feel like I'm dismissed because they can't figure out who I am. Like I don't fit the liberal, I don't fit the conservative, I don't fit like. Why are we? What do you stand for? You know? And I'm like,
Yeah.
so to make it very clear to the audience, my stance here, I'm not defending this guy at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I am
obviously.
defending freedom of speech.
Mm.
That is the only thing I'm defending. I don't think anyone's speech should be censored. And reason being, this guy was dismissed. Maybe nobody was paying attention to him. He was crazy, right?
Yep.
He talked on a platform. And if you can recognize that someone could use some help or could use maybe not help, but just some bonding, or maybe just connect to the person. If someone could have been like, no, why are you thinking like that? Or if actually people were more open to debating and conversing rather than this is my point and you all are stupid, which is all Facebook now. Like, if you don't believe this, you're stupid and unfriend me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
When we disconnect from people, nothing is going to get better. And here, I'm going to read a quote for you.
Yep.
I got this and this comes from NPR, and they quoted Andrew Torba, who is the founder of Gab.com. I can agree with what he's saying here. So let me read this for you.
Yep.
So here's a soundbite from one of their archived broadcasts. It's like, what would you expect us to do with posts like that, referring to the shooter? Do you want us to just censor anybody that says the phrase, I'm going in? Is that what you're proposing here? And here's the thing. The answer to bad speech or hate speech, however you want to define that, is more speech. And it will always be.
That sums it up, really.
Right?
I mean, see, the weirdness with this also is that if I was arguing with someone and they were just so wrong, it was just they were unjustifiable in how wrong they were. I would love to just have them, all right, everybody be quiet. Here's a microphone. I would shut the fuck up. I would give the guy that I disagree with the microphone, and I'd say, go embarrass yourself. Like, just speak as loud and clear as you want. I'll give you 10 minutes. Go for it, you know? And, like, if someone starts ranting, and this is more Jordan Peterson shit, you have to talk just so you figure out what you know. Like, you just have to start talking, and then you'll kind of understand where you stand on some things. If this guy started talking out loud to, like, people who knew what they were talking about, they go, all right, here's what's going on. You have some sexual issues, obviously. Like, you don't have love in your life. You don't have friendship. You don't have this. You don't have that. And we'll list exactly why you're fucked up. Here you go. A, B, C, D. And if the guy has any humanity in him at all, he'd be like, okay, you're right. I'm going to fix it. Most people don't. Most people are too lazy and too stupid, and they're just going to devolve in whatever it is. And that's fine. But when you're talking before, it reminded me of, I'm not sure if I talked to you about this guy. You know Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, the hitman? Do you know the name at all?
No.
He was a mafia hitman back in, like, I guess 70s, 80s. He was prevalent. Giant dude, like 6'4", 300 pounds, and he was like a Polish hitman. And he was just this big, imposing, scary character. And he killed, like, I'll try to get the amount of people he murdered, but they just made a movie about him a few years back. But he was a monster by every definition, right? And there was an HBO documentary about him, and it was interesting because the guy was a psychologist or psychiatrist. I keep confusing the two. And he was talking to him, and he was like explaining why he was fucked up. And Kuklinski was like, okay, and like he's saying, okay, all right, you know. He was talking about, here's what happened with your father. You had abuse, and then you feel this way, and he was just like breaking down why. And you see Kuklinski like, okay, like he was like processing why he was fucking crazy. And the interesting thing that the psychologist says was that you are fearless. Like, that's you don't have any fear. You don't have consequences like other people. Now, people like you sometimes become fighter pilots or become soldiers or become like people who work on like the Empire State Building on like people who just are fearless. There's a purpose for you, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but like there's somewhere for you to go as someone who has no fear, but you just happen to choose being a hitman. You know what I mean? Like, so my point is this, like, people out there are broken in a weird way, but we should have a society where, okay, you're broken in this way, but you can channel all that to something positive instead of becoming a fucking drug addict or a mafia hitman or a mass shooter. It's like, okay, what can we do with you to make you useful? Does that make any sense?
Yes,
kinda?
and those conversations are hard to have when people are getting dismissed all the time.
Sure.
Now, and this goes to people I know, and it's even happened to me, if you dismiss someone on Facebook or a social platform, and you know that person,
yeah,
and you've dismissed, unfriend me. If you believe this, unfriend me. You have stopped the conversation. The conversation has stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were the only hope of maybe converting that view or giving more information to that person, you have severed that. Yeah. Now, what's going to happen? If you've dismissed that person, and then let's say everybody around the circle is dismissing that person, is that person with the weird view ever going to learn possibly a better way?
Well, here's a question for you and something to think about. something I've just noticed in my own life and everything is people are so polarized again. The right left is at each other's throats all the time, where people are just kind of dissolving their social networks to the point where they're just associating themselves with people who agree with them,
Yeah, that's
and
dangerous.
that's really dangerous. I mean, you don't want to do that. You don't want to ever just talk to people that you agree with. And me and you are kind of on the same. We agree on a lot of things, but we can talk about whatever. Some people just do not want to hear any opposing views at all. Like I do not want to hear anything. Like the Jews run the world. They have their Jewish gold that they're hiding somewhere, and their George Soros is filtering and all the immigrants. Like, okay, maybe. Like, can we talk about this? No, it's reality. Like people are just so out there where you can't even be like, well, here's why you're wrong. Here's where you're right. And the unfortunate thing is with all the fake news concept going around, we don't know what's real anymore.
No,
Like we're
that's a
not
problem.
going anywhere. We're just looking it up online and assuming that, oh yeah, this happened. Nope. You know what I mean? Like I'd love to see more of like on the boots on the ground news reporting. Like here's what the reality of the situation is. You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy. I'm just trying to express as much as
Well,
possible, but like, what do we do? I don't know.
well, that's what happens with the mass media.
Yeah.
They're mass media. They need to mass profit. How do you connect with a mass audience by assigning them a mass label?
Yeah.
That's what's happening. You are Democrat liberal. You are Republican conservative. Now we have two groups that we all have to appease. So guess what? Fox News is like, we're going to take these people, and CNN, and you're going to take these people, right? And so they have a mass audience that's going to mass consume their media content for mass profit. Do you see what the problem is here? Like, is anybody reading local newspapers anymore?
No, I'm kidding me. Like,
There is no local. There is no community.
but the problem is, and you have kind of experience with this. I mean, if you have a company that's in Florida and they're telling New Jersey how to run their business, it never works.
No.
Never works. So like Washington D.C. is telling the world how to live. It's like it's not your job to tell people how to live or whatever it is. Localize everything where a really really small groups of people can be responsible for their small group of people. That's the solution to everything right now. I mean not everything, but you know what I mean. Like it's a solution to all these problems
It
is
makes things better. It's not a solution. At
strong
least it's
communities.
progressive.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, like you said, was dismissed. The word you used,
Yes,
dismissed, right?
dismissed.
So this guy who did something obviously horrible was dismissed by society, and guess what? We're talking about him. That he made the
It's too
news.
late.
Yeah, like there's 10 more of these guys down the pipe
There's
because they
way
just.
more.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean. Like in the
Yeah.
next few months, we're gonna see a couple more of these because the copycat concept.
Yeah.
But I mean, the media is playing right into what all these guys want, which is people were mean to me my whole life. I got a shit deal. I'm going to do something horrible so people fear me now. I keep saying this, but it's way better to be notorious than anonymous.
Yeah.
Way better. Not even close. All right. And I mean, all these guys are just kind of rushing to have people pay attention to them because they did something horrific. And another great, delicious irony to this whole thing is that I think terrorists feel the same way.
Yeah.
They say, I'm going to blow myself up because my tribe is going to be like, oh, you killed all the infidels. Great job.
Like you get some gratification ahead of time. Like
Yeah.
you know that you're going to do it. You're not going to be around, but at least you get some gratification, some meaning ahead of time.
Validation, really.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting into.
It's really fucking scary.
You don't got to tell me that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows what the next thing is going to be? And I can ask you this also: are you feeling very, I guess, detached is the right word, or indifferent to when you hear about a school shooting? I mean, South Park talks about this in the latest episodes, where like school shootings are happening and people aren't even paying attention anymore. Like it's like you hear like bang bang in the background, like oh I'll get this one. Hold on, give me a second, guys. Another school shooting. I mean, there's so many of these shootings going on that you just kind of don't care. Like you don't get the same emotional response as you did when I was a kid. It was Columbine.
Yeah.
That was like
That was
everybody was
huge.
was hit hard by that. But now it's just like, all right, another shooting. What do we do now?
Well,
We're
the
gonna
thing
talk
is,
about this, talk about that.
it's unpleasant because another shooting creates another argument. And you're going to go online, it's like, we got to get rid of guns. It's like, no, it's not guns, it's mental health. And it's like, yo, if we didn't have the guns, then guns don't kill people. Like, we
Yeah.
have all those arguments.
That are
And-
that are ad nauseum, I guess is the word.
And
right?
yeah, and we're essentially tired of it. So horrible things are going to happen because we're tired of talking about it. Wait, this made sense. Bad things are happening because we're not talking about it.
Yeah, I
We're
mean,
not
I'm not going to harp on the one story that I'm about to mention, but there was an incident where a guy was about to shoot up a school, and a mom caught wind of it and called the police and stopped a mass shooting from happening. cool. Like that's what you want more of. That's the small community keeping track of
Yeah.
what's going on. I mean, I live in Queens and I go on a subway and it's so detached. Like I see a different group of people every time I hit the subway. I never see the same person. And I'm going to the same spot, the same time, and you don't know these fucking people around you. It's really bizarre. That's not what we need more of. We need more of something bad's about to happen. I got wind of it. I can stop it. And the individual should be empowered to do that. I mean, and the right wing part of me is like carry concealed, and if something happens, actually engage the person with gunfire, because that's the solution
Yeah.
also. I just watched a video on YouTube of a guy who's a retired Marine who carries a Glock 17 on his hip at all times when he goes to church. And he sits by the entrance and the exit, and he just keeps an eye. He sits in the very back row, and he just keeps an eye on everything for the mass, and then he goes home. Like he's an unofficial security guard who happens to be qualified to use a
Yeah.
weapon and everything. But I mean, I don't mind more of those guys around. Like if you're qualified, if you're competent with a weapon, carry concealed and just keep an eye on everything and just lay back and just if something happens, you might not have to shoot someone, but call the fucking police and be useful. That goes back to the community thing. And then the left doesn't want to hear that
No,
because
they don't.
they don't want
They
to hear
don't want to
that.
hear anything that's that. I'm not saying anything bad about leftists,
Yep.
but they they're so set in their ways. Like I said, it's an extreme form of liberalism.
Mm.
It's very hard to find people in the gray area. Like that's why I like talking to you.
Yeah, I'm
We
very
we,
much in the
we,
gray.
we,
Yeah.
we live in that gray area, and I'm not. We don't converse because we always agree with each other.
Mm.
But I think it's amazing how we can always come to the same conclusions after bringing different information,
Yeah.
and we'll even mold that opinion a little bit. So the reason I talked to you and we figured we'd do this podcast is because we're open to new information and we're
Yeah.
open to changing our views.
Yeah, I mean, and this is something I could also talk to you about. I mean, I don't care about other people in a weird way thinking the way I think. Like the main thing I'm trying to do here is I want to establish how I think and how I live my life. I mean, this goes back to like exercise, diet choices, media you consume. I mean, everything and anything. It really comes down to what you do. I mean, excellence isn't a destination; it's what you do every day. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
like that concept. Where like, are you working out every day? No. I feel bad. I feel lethargic all the time. Are you eating properly? No. It's like, what do you expect? I mean, like if I mean, oh, mentally I'm feeling this way, but you have to create solutions to your own shit before you tell anyone else how to live. So the utility of what we're doing here is I want to figure out how I want to live my life, and not if it works, cool. If it doesn't work, I'll change. Like I want to be very malleable with how this is going, and so many people are just waiting for other people to do something.
Yeah, that's a
Where
bad
it's
one.
like,
Yeah.
well, one day the guns are going to be banned. We don't have to worry about this. Well, one day everybody's going to have a gun, so we don't have to worry about, like it's like
Yeah.
it's always this one day this is going to happen, and then that's the utopia that we want, and that's not what's going to happen. That's not what reality is. There's no destination at all. It's always just that area of always changing.
And to bring up a point here, I think it's you obviously nobody ever thinks they're the bad guy unless there's something wrong with you. You
Yep.
think you're happy being the bad guy. It's a different type of person.
Yep.
But you've got a whole group of people on the left that think they're doing the right thing and the good thing, and you got a whole bunch of people on the right with conservative values and religious values that think
You
they're
need
doing
more
the right
Jesus in
thing.
your life. That's what
Yeah,
you need.
yeah. They're both thinking that they got something good. So if they both can consider themselves good people,
Mm-hmm.
they should be able to come together and have some sort of good conversation and change each. Like you have to be open to change.
Well, real quick. On that note, the problem with that is that the right wing and the left wing, if they were in the same room and they were like smelling each other, like, what do you think? What do you believe? And it's like, well, I believe this. Well, you can't believe that, and then it's automatically like it goes so far to the opposites immediately, where that's not how you create a better world. Like to talk quickly about guns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a gun owner. I've been shooting since I was 5. Like I consider myself to have a lot of credibility in like the gun community. Blah blah blah. But I still don't think we should have so many guns in this country because you're going to lose a few to bad people all the fucking time. And there's a war between the right wing thinking and the left wing thinking about guns that doesn't lead anywhere. It always just leads to chaos. And the right thing to do is to decrease the amount of guns in this country and centralize them with police, military, and people that are qualified. That's it.
You're saying that.
Knuckleheads should not have guns.
Yeah.
Like, they're not qualified to have a gun, dick. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, you see, what's funny, you're saying all that, and that's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
But that point of view associates you
With the left.
with the person that this happened. Like you're
Yep.
okay with guns, right? So therefore, this person got a hold of a gun, and gun people down,
Yep.
you're part of the problem. You're part of that association.
Sure.
And I know personally you're not.
Yeah.
But the label will be, oh, well, Mike thinks people should have guns. Well, you're part of the problem, and you're part of the reason why this shooting happened.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, that association?
I'm okay with it. I don't
You're
care
okay?
at this point.
Oh, my God. But you weren't supposed to be okay with that, Mike.
I'm okay with whatever label anyone wants to have me. It's like, whatever. I don't care.
It's not a label. I'm just saying you're associated because you are a gun enthusiast. You're associated with this killer.
Sure. Well, of course. I mean, that's just...
No, Mike,
You know what I mean?
you're
Like,
not
I'm
making
just-
a good case for yourself here.
But you know what I mean? Like, at this point, like, it's just like, whatever you want to throw at me, it's like, if anyone thinks I'm part of a problem because I think people should be allowed to have guns, whatever. Like, at this point, it's like, cool. I mean, I'm for Gab having free speech. Do I condone someone shooting up a synagogue?
Absolutely not.
There you go. I mean, I'm for YouTube. YouTube has some dark shit on there. ISIS is using social media. ISIS is using Twitter right now. I mean, am I an ISIS member now? Because
I got to read this quote for you then, because we're going to this association here.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a quote. It comes from Utsav Sanduja or Sanduha. This is Gab's former chief operating officer.
Mhm.
Said the company and its mission will survive guilt by association
Mhm.
and could do more fundraising through cryptocurrencies in order to bypass tech companies. Now, what I want to get back in here, the reason I air quoted it was guilt by association. So, GoDaddy, which was their registrar, removed them. They gave them a time limit. It said remove them from the platform. Removed Gab from the GoDaddy platform because this speech happened. Now, this speech has nothing to do with Gab.com. They condone it. No, they don't condone the speech. They allow it because they believe in free speech. But because they believed in free speech and someone got a little extremist, and it wasn't free speech that happened. A violent act happened. It was not free speech happening. That was a violent act. But GoDaddy felt compelled to dismiss a free speech platform because of a violent action that is not really associated with free speech.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And like, do you think GoDaddy's in the right or the wrong? Like they're a company and they want to profit and they want to probably keep a good light, but I'm having a hard time understanding. Like, obviously, GoDaddy is nowhere near associated with this thing, but they felt the need to distance themselves and tell them to go find a new registrar. So, what is your take on, let's say, like GoDaddy's stance to remove Gab from their registry?
It's not gonna go anywhere. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? I mean, I'll mention.
Like, are you mad at GoDaddy because
a little, but
Are you mad at GoDaddy because of a shooting that happened on a site that's registered to GoDaddy? It's a stretch, right?
Yeah, I mean, let me backtrack a little bit here. So the first movie ever made, one of the first ones, was a man sneezing. Thomas Edison recorded a man sneezing. It's Fred Ott's sneeze. I'm looking it up right now. That exploded to film as we know it, right? A man sneezing led to every form of video and film and TV and everything like that. Right now it's just chaos and freedom. Like, that has, like, you can watch Game of Thrones, you can watch pornography on your computer, you can watch it on your phone. Like, it spiraled into something so completely insane based on that initial man sneezing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the internet is kind of the same way, where back in the day there was maybe a couple of websites that was all about social media and all that. But now it's just like, it's spiraled totally out of control, where you have hundreds of outlets for freedom of speech in the context of modern day 2018. You can say a lot in a lot of different ways. I'm not mad at the initial guy sneezing. You know, like, I'm not mad at that. Like, oh, if that guy didn't sneeze in Thomas Edison's days, we wouldn't have all this pornography around and this child pornography. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, freedom is going to happen. Technology is going to evolve. That's just what happens. Like, you start very, very small and very simple, and all of a sudden you lose control and you're starting to make things that you don't want to make, and all of a sudden you have snuff films based on a man sneezing in Thomas Edison's day. You know, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't control what we're doing right now. You can't. People are trying to suppress information, suppress outlets for everything. I'd much rather have just YouTube. You know what I mean? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Keep it simple. Everybody who has an opinion, post it on Facebook. Everybody, however stupid it fucking is, I don't care.
Well, you can't do that because the platform's not free, Mike. Like, obviously they're liberal sites. They're all based in California. We know California is very liberal, and
Yep.
nothing against Californians being liberal. I said I'm liberal, but I, as a liberal, I won't suppress what someone else is saying if I don't agree with them. Essentially, I look at it as an opportunity to like figure them out. Like, why are they thinking like that?
Mm.
And the roads lead to a lot of similar places, but then how do you start talking sense into these people? How do you start blurring the lines? How do you even start like a conversion How do we get along? How
Can't
do
we
we
all
get
just get along?
along
Yeah.
more, And honestly, I think the free speech is an opportunity to find people you disagree with, because they're your neighbors. The
Yeah.
thing is, we go online, and online is such a massive virtual space.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know the people that live by you?
Oh, I don't.
Do you know? You have a building, I have a block, now I have a street.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody around here, but
It's
I
weird.
can
It's not
impact.
normal.
I can impact these people. I can impact the lives of my family.
Mm-hmm.
I can impact the lives of my friends. I can impact the lives of my coworkers, which
Yeah.
I kind of do. I know sometimes I'm out there for some people,
Mm-hmm.
but I've massaged my way into like talking about this cool stuff
Mm-hmm.
with my coworker, and they embrace it. Like I'm having conversations with people, and they're sort of embracing some of the information I'm bringing.
Yeah.
But I'm at least doing it with people that I can impact. It doesn't matter if I do it online.
Mm.
I think people are just closed off. You have barely any time for yourself. You go to work, you commute, you have a family, you have people that you have to pertain to. You don't have time to go make an impact on someone else's life. So why spew anything on social?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I always keep harping on is like if this Jordan Peterson shit. If you can't clean your room, you can't tell anyone else how to live.
Yeah.
I mean, that sums it up really. I mean, you have to get your own shit in order before you can even think about telling someone else how they should live their life. I mean, it's preposterous. I mean, the weird thing about what we're talking about is that human beings for a long time have been living in your tribe, your village,
Mm-hmm.
where those were your only real friends. Like, you didn't really go to other villages too much. Like, once in a while, but, like,
Yeah.
you were in a very tight group of people, under 150, Dunbar's number, Google it.
Yeah.
But, like, 20 people, let's say, right? And that was your tribe. You lived in a cabin, you lived in a cave, whatever. But, like, now it's, like, 7 billion people with no tribes just talking to each other on the internet. And it's very common for people to find more connection with the people they play video games with than the person who lives literally 5
That's
feet
what I
away
love
from them.
video games.
Exactly. That's why
I did it.
you're into it.
Yeah.
And I've been there before where I've been on a forum where I'm talking to a person I know better than the person that's literally 5 feet in the apartment below me.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
That is a weird
I know
thing.
more about Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. He knows nothing about me, and I'm okay with that. But I know so much shit about Joe Rogan. I could tell stories that he's went through, and it's so fucking weird. It's like the Howard.
Iliad of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, but like the Howard Stern concept, where people have always listened to Howard Stern for 30 years, whatever it's been, 20 years. They know Howard Stern intimately. He doesn't know them.
Yeah.
It's not a very even keel, and that's okay. Cause
That's mass media.
That's mass media again.
There's no connection there.
The funny thing is about Joe Rogan and the Death Squad crew and everything is like all the fans are really cool apparently, like from what a couple of weirdos here and there, but like Bert Kreischer or these guys, they'd have just some random guy come up to them and like just have a normal conversation. Like, hey Bert, what's up? Oh hey man, and they just have like they known each other for 10 years, like because they're watching the same podcasts and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I think it's a cool little thing to be able to just if you're in the middle of Colorado and a guy's wearing a Joe Rogan Experience T-shirt. You can talk to that person pretty. Hey man, you see the last one? Oh yeah. And all of a sudden you're friends in
Yes.
like a minute. If I go downstairs to the guy, he doesn't listen to podcasts. He just watches football. I can't talk to them. Like he's a fucking stranger.
Yeah.
It's like this.
How do you
is
even
so
start? It's like weird to talk to people like, hey, good morning, and you just walk by like that's it.
Weird. The hilarious thing about living in Queens is that when someone is like walking into your building and you're going at the same time with them, it's this contest to not look at each other, not make eye contact. Just like I have to interact with this person. All right, hey, how's it going? Doing good? Yeah, I'm doing great. All right, see ya. And like you run back to your apartment, like, oh, thank God, I almost interacted with a human being for a minute and a half.
That brings up an amazing point because we'd rather just go on Facebook or some social platform and blurt shit out for whoever's going to receive that.
Yeah.
But not connect with the people directly around us.
Would you ever in a million years knock on your neighbor's door and just start talking politics with them? Like,
no, but you have to kind of segue into it. It starts with a good morning. It starts with how you doing.
Sure.
It starts with, oh, I got stuck in traffic today. Oh, where were you going? What do you do? Like,
yeah.
just have a fucking
Just
conversation.
be normal, man.
Like, talk to people.
Yeah.
Like, this internet thing and this whole social networking thing. Like, I challenge myself. Like, every time I go to Cosm now on their full moon gatherings, I make it a point. I'm going to talk to 3 people I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's plenty to talk about there. Like, if you see them looking at something and
Very easy people to talk to, by the way.
Yes,
for
they
real.
are so easy to talk to. So I'm like, I'm going to do this.
But here's the thing, though.
What?
When you go to Cosm, everybody from there found that one place to meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day, you were stuck with your family. You were stuck with your village.
You're stuck.
You're stuck there. You're not doing any. You're not upward mobility anywhere. Like, you're stuck with this fucking assholes that you don't like. People have a lot of problems. I have a pretty good family, but people who are stuck in families they don't like, it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, people are stuck in this one-horse town that they don't like, and oh my god. But if you connect with someone on the internet, let's all go somewhere else where we all think the same way.
It's called the convention.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But like, that's something that's interesting that's happening right now, where you don't have to be stuck in your narrow-minded hometown anymore. You can go wherever you want. Freedom, though. The solution is more freedom, because guess what? Like, a lot of like gay people go to San Francisco to find acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with I'm a gay person. I want to associate myself with more gay people. I like yoga. I'm gonna go to Colorado where people like yoga. Whatever your thing is, you can find people who think like you. The problem is that when you're only around people who think just like you don't evolve, you don't grow, and sometimes you're off the beaten path a little bit, where you're stuck in like a bubble.
See,
so many people in education are in bubbles, and you can bring it back to martial arts. Back in the day before UFC, people were in their little bubbles thinking they can stop someone's heart without touching them, and people just believed it, and they didn't actually get grappled to the ground and choked out, because that's reality reminding you that your whatever you believe is nonsense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go.
So, Mike, I want to let's make this more difficult, right?
Okay.
We got to find some solutions. We can't just talk about it. We've obviously set the stage. People need to talk more. They need to converse. They need to debate civilly and receive more information.
Yep.
Now, when you have a world where Twitter and Facebook and there's all these platforms developed in a very liberal state. And like, for instance, like that's essentially, that platform is turning into Tribe, because they're knocking out opposing views on their platforms. So now you're really dividing people. Like, you have liberals on these platforms, then the conservatives found a home on gab.com, because they can actually say stuff without being dismissed and deleted and censored and removed.
But they wanted to find some people that agreed with them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
But they found people that agree with them. But the thing is, their word is not being removed.
Yeah.
So like, that's the big deal. Like, if your information, the information that you're trying to put forth, is being removed, you don't even stand a chance. Like, maybe there's a really good point that a gun, like for instance in the gun debate, there's really good points that gun owners are making, and I actually kind of get some of those ads on YouTube. I'm like, all right, that's a good point. Those points and that information will never, in a communal way, like in an organic person-to-person way, never cross the line to someone that thinks all guns should be like burned and banned and we shouldn't even have them. Like, there's horrible divisions being made.
Well, I mean, if you talk about solutions,
Yeah, that's
here's my take on solutions, right? I make a pledge to anyone: I will never kill anyone. I will never rape anyone. I will never steal. I'm very dedicated to just being a good person myself. Now, I have weapons that I'm never going to use on an innocent person. Right?
Like, I'm not afraid of you.
I know, I'm a pussycat, you know that. but you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna try to be the best person I can be. Short of that, there's not really much else I can do. I mean, I'm gonna encourage my friends to, if they shoot a bow and arrow, I'm gonna teach them the proper way to shoot a bow and arrow, so nobody hits a deflection and gets stabbed and hit in the fucking head with a bow and, you know what I mean? Like, safety and being a good person, all that type of stuff. But to kind of jump on that a little bit, people need to understand that there's an instinct to make people who don't agree with you go away and shut the fuck up and all this stuff.
They can't. They're not going to go away.
No. They're not going to go away. But also, you need right-wing and left-wing people to coexist, because when they do, life becomes awesome. You know what I mean? If left-wing people and right-wing people get along, everything's great. But you don't want left-wing people to go away. You don't want right-wing people to go away. I guarantee you, there's like a left-wing person in Brooklyn right now, right? Let's say maybe they live with their mom, right? And they're posting on Twitter about the alt-right and all that shit. If a guy sneaks into their house and tries to kill your mom with a butcher knife, there's a right-wing type person that will go into your house and kill the person trying to kill your mother or die trying.
You just did that in Grand Theft Auto.
Maybe. That's neither here nor
I
there.
know. Just,
But you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm
Like
lightening the mood.
there's right-wing people who have this dedication to, if someone's being hurt, I'm going to run towards the danger and try to either sacrifice my life to save this innocent person or kill an attacker or run into a burning building or do all sorts of dangerous, horrible shit because you're not willing or able to do so yourself. You know what I mean? Soldiers tend to be right-wingers, firemen tend to be right-wingers, police officers, construction workers. There's a model of people that tend to be on the right, and guess what? They're good people at the end of the day. People are good and bad, sure, but they lean more to being good and being assets.
See, I think.
But let me just finish my thought real quick. The opposite of that is like people who say, "Oh, these goddamn liberals should go away." Like your computer was probably designed by a left winger.
I just had that. Yeah,
You know
I just had that debate.
Like, your favorite song is probably made by a left wing dude. You know what I mean? Like some hippie piece of shit liberal probably, you know, made your computer code a lot easier. You know, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So forget about them going away. You don't want them to go away. Whoever your them is, you want them to be on your team and be a good person. But forget that concept. There's a sign in Texas saying, if you're liberal, keep driving. We don't want you in Texas. That's a dumb sign.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my rant. Go.
Dude, I just had a small debate with someone that was saying, like, how Californians, and they're like, imagine being that stupid that you live in California. And like,
I love California.
He was saying that, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, if you don't like Californians, then get off Facebook where you're saying this. Don't use Twitter because I know they use Twitter. You can't use Twitch TV anymore because that came from California.
Yep.
So you can't use any of that if you think those people are that stupid.
If you're a legit like KKK member and you hate the Jews and everything, like, did you ever see Jaws?
Yeah.
Great movie, right? Steven Spielberg's Jewish. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Do you really hate Jews that much where you think
'Cause
Jaws
of
Jaws sucks or Jurassic Park is not a great fucking movie?
Thank you. I can, yeah, please.
You know
I
what I
want to keep Jurassic Park.
But you know what I mean? Like if you really want to get rid of XYZ, it's like, well, you realize that like Jimi Hendrix was a black dude, right? And he's like one of the greatest people ever. Like it does,
Yeah.
like the narrative falls apart when you just think for
Dude,
5 fucking seconds.
Have you seen? There's memes now about like a race war happening, and it's funny because the black community is choosing memes. It's like when the race war is happening, but you have to off Tony Hawk, and it's and it's a picture of the dude crying about to execute Tony Hawk.
Yep.
Like
That's so fucked up.
that
Okay.
moment right there means we have to get along. Like,
We're stuck with each other,
your
man.
tribe versus your tribe. No, there's good things about both tribes. There's good things about both groups. And essentially what you're trying to accomplish is less diversity. Now, I brought this point up last time. We all have these cell phones, right?
Yep.
These cell phones were everything. They were flip phones. They were sidekicks. They were all this shit, right? But the diversity in phones kind of originated about like an LCD screen.
Yep.
Because after trying all that stuff and trying after all that different shit, they're like, okay, well, the best case scenario is to have a phone with the LCD screen, and if everybody has a smartphone, everybody gets to communicate and all that stuff.
That's really interesting because cell phones aren't smaller or bigger. They're all kind of the same size because
Yeah.
like the length of your thumb, they kind of figured out what works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you've talked about this before. Like diversity isn't necessarily a good thing. It kind of can be a really bad thing. So it's like it's interesting because people are so obsessed with diversity and equality, but those concepts don't really work. Like, you know what I mean? Like
When you find the best case scenario, and that's the problem, like, we've divided ourselves into two things which we think are the best case scenario. When I say we as Americans, we have the left and we have the right. They have their best case scenario. They have their best case scenario.
Yeah.
Can't talk right now.
it's okay.
But maybe we can figure out a mutual best case scenario. That's
I know.
That's what needs to happen. Like that's why the phones turned into this. That's why
Yeah.
they're this. That makes sense. A lot of diverse phones, a lot of diverse ideas, a lot of diverse designs finally came to the fact that this is the best way to use a phone for now.
Sure.
And
Okay.
I was just gonna go now, and Steve was like Android or iPhone. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
like, that just bothers me so much.
Yeah, it is weird how things just really go back to like a left or right,
Yeah.
or black or white concepts, you know. But it's always fun hearing like people with their shitty ideas, because you can just negate their shitty ideas in like a sentence. Whereas like if you're like an angry black dude, you're like, what has a white man ever done for me? It's like they create a basketball, dude. A white guy created a basketball and the sneakers you're wearing.
It's sort of racist.
It is.
I mean, I get it. It's a
But
joke.
you know what I mean.
I'm gonna laugh this off. I hope everybody listening laughs this
Laugh
off.
it off.
but
It's me being a
still,
silly goose. All right.
It's fun.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people have this thing like I'm gonna have a narrative where all Jews are the worst people. Like really? Like
No, they're
think
not.
about it for 5 seconds before you say something stupid. Like that's a dumb thing. Objectively, it's a dumb way to think. I hate all these goddamn Italians in my neighborhood. It's like, do you like pizza? It's like, yes, I
Yeah.
do. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck
Like
up.
everybody has all these cultures and all these everybody from all these different diversities, they all have great things to contribute.
Yes.
If you take all those great things and you put them in one spot and you can remove the bad things, which is what Muslims and Islam is having. They have a lot of terrible people in there, right?
Yeah.
But we wouldn't think about Muslims being terrible people, and I say the American perception right now.
Sure.
But they can't remove or they can't educate the bad section of their diversity. And
Yeah.
so like they're suffering, like they all have to suffer from that.
Well-
so now white people are having the problem now because you're all turning into serial killers. You're all
Exactly.
serial
We're all
killers.
child
You're all,
molesters
yes,
with all the,
you're-
whatever. The Catholic priest thing, forget it. But I mean, that's the weird thing about when you have like people. I'm a Muslim. It's like, really? So you're friends with like 1 billion people? Those are all your friends? Really? Is that how this works? Like, it's a preposterous thing to believe. And Christianity is just as crazy. Like, oh, you got to defend the Christian nation, the Christian Christendom, I think was the word they used to say back in the day, which we don't really say anymore. But like Sam Harris talks about this, Islam never had like a reformation and any of that stuff. They just kind of stayed kind of stubborn and as is after a couple of 100 years, where it's like, no, you got to like get rid of the dumb shit. There's no Catholic suicide bombers. I keep saying this because nobody believes in it that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just what's going on here. You get rid of the dumb shit. And the wonderful thing about the internet is that there might be a little bit of truth in Christianity or Islam or Judaism. You just take what's yours. And I always go to the UFC argument, like make a mixed martial thoughts.
You
know
make
what I
a
mean?
great point.
Mixed
You-
martial thoughts, man. That's
It
what you want.
took how long's the UFC been around? It's like 20
Since 92, I want to say.
Yeah, so it's almost 20, 30 years almost, right?
Yeah.
We're hitting 30 years. I kind of remember when that was new. And
Yeah.
when they started, man, they had like sumos up against wrestlers, up against
There's
little
no
jiu-jitsu
sumo
guys.
wrestlers in UFC
Yeah,
anymore. you
and
know?
now all that diversity has found a certain style and technique. Like, oh, if you're gonna be on the ground, you're gonna want to know jiu-jitsu, and if
Yeah.
you know, being a boxer is cool, but you're gonna have to learn how to throw a kick. You know, like
Yeah.
all that diversity kind of found a medium now, and that's what.
The awesome thing about watching MMA in like 2018 is sometimes like Wing Chun will sneak in there a little bit, and it's really fun to watch. I think it was Tony Ferguson in the last UFC. He did like a capture and then like an elbow or a punch or something, but it was pure Wing Chun because he was on the dummy, the wooden dummy. So that's my ultimate point about everything. It's like in that situation, Wing Chun was very valuable. You know what I mean? Like there might be a cop who uses like an Aikido wrist lock. It doesn't really Aikido is maybe a little antiquated, but a little bit of truth is in Aikido that you might want to learn. You know what I mean? Boxing, how to throw a punch is always going to be pretty universal because there's one way to throw a punch essentially. Not really, but you know what I mean? Like we figured out how to punch people pretty efficiently. If someone wants to punch like this, that's not going to work.
That's not gonna
You
work.
need a fist. Like move past it. Don't get associated. Martial arts has always been that way where like a Wing Chun guy will say, I'm a Wing Chun man until I die because he made an emotional investment or an intellectual investment in being a Wing Chun practitioner. And I think Marxists do the same thing, Nazis do the same thing, Christians do the same thing, liberals, everybody says the same thing where their identity is so wrapped up in who they are, where they just don't want to evolve and realize how stupid it is. And going back to the Pittsburgh shooter, this guy was identifying as a neo-Nazi or whatever. He did exactly what his programming told him to do, which is to kill people that aren't white Christians or whatever it is. So you have to get rid of the software. Like just delete the software. It's not appropriate anymore. It doesn't apply. And just like it's frustrating because it's so obviously stupid that it's like how do you convince someone that's so down that path that they're stupid? You know, and everybody's guilty of some stupid thing that they believe. And just get rid of it. Just get rid of the excess fat. Just get it away.
You can't just say just get rid of it because that's hardwired. But Mike, let's get wrapping up here. Let's play a game of let's get some solutions. Let's get some final words in. All right. So I'm going to start with GoDaddy. Did GoDaddy need to remove Gab from their registrar?
No.
No. Right. No.
No.
Is Gab.com associated with the shooter? Are they guilty by association?
No, and I think that you're going to see a lot like what happened with Jordan Peterson is going to happen with Gab probably,
Mhm.
because it was a negative thing that makes them in the news now, and it's probably going to end the end be a positive for Gab. The irony of this, because people are talking about, oh, there's somewhere where there's freedom still. I'm going to go there, and then all of a sudden you're going to have not just right wingers but maybe left wingers and people all over the map gravitate towards Gab because like, oh shit, there's somewhere where there's freedom and I can argue with someone who I disagree with. I'm going to go there. And Facebook is a nightmare at this point because people are losing friends and all that.
Yeah.
So like, it's just going to be more chaos and more freedom, and people are going to. Nobody goes to AskJeeves.com. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't go there anymore. You don't go to what was the other one? What was the
Alta Vista.
Alta Vista. We don't go there anymore. You know, we just kind of
Excite.
went to the one place, but then all of a sudden we're going to go to another place. We're not going to go to MySpace anymore. We'll go to Facebook.
Yeah.
I still want MySpace to come back. By the way, I'm hoping for it. Freedom, baby. But it's not going to happen. But you know what I mean? Like, people are going to change. They're going to grow. They're going to evolve. And there's no destination. I keep saying that. But, like, there's no, like, everything's fine now. This is great. Humanity is all about changing and evolving and growing and shifting and doing this. And that's just who we are. There's never a state of a destination. That's a lie.
So what's your take? What would you tell someone that has sectioned themselves off or has dismissed a group of people? Like, if you had to start, like, spearheading your way into someone's bubble of views, how would you start in this particular? How would you convince someone that Gab.com is a good thing?
That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, the answer should be more freedom. That's what the answer should always be.
Freedom.
Freedom, baby. America.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
But you know, like it's freedom is valuable, and people don't appreciate living in a free country because we take it for granted.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like if this is why people drive me crazy who are like defending Marxism. It's like, ask someone who lived in a Marxist dictatorship if they'd want to go back to a Marxist dictatorship. You know, like North Koreans, once they go to South Korea,
They're not going back to North
are they
Korea.
going to go to North Korea? You know, yeah. But like people always hate on America, but there's people in boats swimming their way towards America away from Cuba to get to America. You know what I mean?
See, I think that argument is we can be better.
We can totally be better.
We
of
have the
course.
freedom to be better, but why are we stuck in this fucking stupid paradigm right now? Like, where's the third and fourth party? Where's the guy that wants to legalize weed and own guns? You know,
That's my party.
Yeah, exactly. Like we don't have more options, and we've been polarized, and then people are taking that polarization to heart, and it's like you're either or, and it's
Well, I try to get his name before I sign off, but there's a great psychologist right now who's saying, are Americans too fragile, this and that. But he pretty much said that the modern theory of left-wing thinking is the exact opposite of what you want to do to be healthy, like mentally healthy, like trigger warnings and microaggressions and all this stuff literally has the exact opposite effect of being a good person. I mean, it's really horrible to think, and the weird thing is that Christianity. I'm not a Christian. I'm very much like an agnostic. I'm just like, let's try to figure this out. But Christianity has a lot of utility when it comes to how to be a good person. Like it'll teach you like don't kill, don't steal, don't rape, all this stuff. But I mean, a lot of Christians are bad people, and people are good and bad. I keep saying that, but it's just like people need to grow past their small tribal associations.
or they're actually big in this sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it's they need to make
Mass.
peace that people aren't right wing or left wing. That's another weird thing. I mean, nobody is a pure right winger or a left winger. People are very much a hybrid, and it's just like obvious, of course. But I mean, am I making sense at all? Like nobody's an actual right winger or a left winger. Mahatma
You're
Gandhi.
labeled as one.
Mahatma Gandhi is not a liberal. People don't realize that. Like, if he was around today, he would not be a liberal icon like he is now. He hated black people. Like, you can Google this. But, like, if Gandhi is not a liberal, who's a liberal at the end of the day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, JFK, he would be in trouble right now if he was around. Like, rape culture, all that shit. Forget it. Martin Luther King cheated on his wife. You know what I mean? Like, Michael Moore eats beef. He eats tacos. He's responsible for global warming. He's not a left winger. You know what I mean? Like Bill Clinton, right?
Yeah.
And then right wingers, there's no real right wingers because like, oh, Donald Trump was a nice Christian man. No, he ain't. No, he ain't.
No, he's not.
He is not a
That is such
Christian
a
in any
great
way,
point.
shape, or form. But you're defending Donald Trump for being a good Christian man. Like, really? Really? But yeah, I mean, I'm being a little silly
Yeah,
right here. You get it.
yeah, but it's
But
a good
like,
point to leave on.
and then
And
just so I don't forget the name of the person real quick, I'll just try to find him. I think it's Peter. Let me get it real quick. You can talk about something else while I look that up
okay,
if you want.
well, I was just gonna kind of throw in some final words, and I think people need to have discussions. Do not dismiss the people around you, and you are not always right.
Yeah.
You just have to accept that. Like, I've fallen into a way better lifestyle
Mm.
because I've changed a lot of my views.
Yeah.
I grew up as a Christian and Catholic, and as much as that would break my family's heart, I found something that's like, well, it's none of this.
Yeah.
Like we still, why are we not looking? Like it doesn't just stop. It always keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking for better ways to live. I'm looking for better ways to communicate with people. I didn't stop. That's the thing. I learned not to stop. Question everything. Make sure you get the answers you want. There's always going to be new answers in the future. They thought they had it figured out. The Earth is flat. Well, guess what? It's not.
Yeah.
Now what? You,
That's a weird thing because
I,
people actually believe the Earth is flat
I,
now,
I
which is
know.
crazy. But go ahead.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's always new information. There's always evolving information. There's always something better. There's something more efficient to do.
Yeah.
You need to be open to that because what worked then may not work now. Like, we are in perpetual war, and the war is most of this country's budget.
Yeah.
If we could all just change our minds and send that to like NASA or more space programs or something, like if we just change the way we think, there's way better things to be had than war,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's common sense. I mean, just to get out of the way, the guy that I want people to Google, Jonathan Haidt. He has a YouTube video, "Have Americans Become Too Fragile for Their Own Good?" on Big Think. It's a good video to watch. And I'm obsessed with YouTube videos. I'll set up in future podcasts. I'll send more out. But there's a lot of that going around where being a healthy person and being part of your team are complete opposites. Like, you're not going to be healthy if you think that anyone who doesn't think Donald Trump is Hitler, you know what I mean? Like, there's no use to that concept. Or all liberals need to die. We need to kill all the liberals and all the Jews.
that's
Like,
not
what are you
gonna
talking
get
about?
anything done.
Like, stop it. People have to stop being silly and just like understand that everybody's a hypocrite. Everybody's a hypocrite.
In
Moving out
some
of the
way, yeah.
In some way, shape, or form, we're all raging hypocrites, and just lessen the amount of hypocrisy that you believe in. Like, just trim it away. Like, okay, I can't believe that all Jews are have horns because I've seen Jewish people, they don't have horns. So like, I can't say that they're the devil. Like, okay, that's a nonsense, obviously. And they just kind of filter out all the bullshit in your life where, again, no destination, but you're less silly, you're less violent, you're less everything, because just trim it down. We're all going to be stupid. But just manage your stupidity a little better, for Christ's sake.
Well, that's called education, Mike.
Yeah.
Educate yourself. Listen to more podcasts. Listen to us. Listen to Rogan. Listen to Jordan Peter. Listen to all these great names out there that are trying to pioneer this weird social situation that we're in. We are connected. We are global. We have to deal with it. If we were a spaceship with 10 people on it and we had one person from each part of the world on that ship of 10 people, those 10 people are going to have to figure it the fuck out because they need each other to do the tasks and survive wherever they are. They can't dismiss anybody on that thing because they're all important. So we have to start thinking like that. We're all on this planet. We're all polluting the fuck out of this planet. We're knocking down shit. We're going to war. We're blowing shit up. Species are going extinct all around us.
Mm-hmm.
And you're worried about your own point of view.
Yeah, it's the whole think globally, act locally concept. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, don't tailgate people. Don't speed too much. Don't be a dick when you're driving. Don't just, if you see a lady on the subway who has a carriage, help her bring the carriage up the stairs. Like, do little tiny acts of kindness, and that makes the world a better place. And it might blow up in your face because, you're nice to people and they walk all over you. I get that. Find the balance. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to do, is just find the balance with how I act every day. It's hard though. There's a reason why people turn to drugs, because it's easier.
Yeah, I wish I could quote this, but I heard something like, you can't change the world, but you can change what's around you. You can change what's accessible to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if this notion was contagious itself, then you did change the world.
Yeah.
So random acts of kindness and listen to people, like see where they're coming from. If you've got a different view, you don't know who's listening. You don't know who you'll educate. You don't know whose mind you'll change. Like how many times like I see all these things like how old were you when you realized that you could put staples in the bottom of a stapler? I was today years old. Like that's I know now I could put staples in the bottom of a stapler. Like there's a holder there. Like there's always information. And so that's funny, but then there's seriously better ways to think, and there's all better ways to think with each other. And that's don't censor people. we need the conversation. We need the freedom of speech. If people can talk as crazy as they can get sometimes, now you know where the problem is. But we've hidden these people away. Like you are not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to be here. You're not part of the society. Shut up. Don't say anything. And then when Trump showed up, he broke the bricks loose. People came out because they thought that Trump represents them with these crazy ideas.
That's a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other thing. I'm just saying the conversations are out there. The crazy conversations are out there.
Yeah.
The crazy views and the extremist views, they're out there, but we can deal with them if we converse and educate. You cannot deal with it if we dismiss and separate.
Yeah. I mean, one more little negative rant I gotta get out of the way.
Go ahead, Mike, get it out. I'll let you have this one and we're gonna close it out.
Yeah, because I mean, like something that bothers me about the left right now is that they just want everybody to unite against Donald Trump. Like, it's just this weird thing where, like, oh, you kind of disagree with Donald Trump? Let's go burn. Like, it's just this weird mob mentality, and it's really not healthy in a weird way. Like, it's just this weird thing where so many people. I don't know what's going to happen with. I don't want to. I can keep talking about this for another hour and a half, but like, I want to see better ideas, and I don't want people to be so stupidly tribal about everything and black and white, left or right, and just grow the fuck up, everybody.
More speech.
More speech, more
talking.
freedom, more talking.
Yeah.
Let Gab do whatever the fuck they want. I mean, it's the internet for crying out loud.
I actually commend that. And that's a rough job. They're going to have a lot of crazy ideas. They're going to like this is what I was trying to say. If that guy made that conversation, if the shooter said what he said in a coffee shop, are you going to shut down the coffee shop?
No.
No. They're not associated with that. So this guy got to say something on a free platform. We're supposed to be a free society. He said something on a free platform. That free platform should not be held accountable or associated with this person. It's just like being in a public place. That's what that site is. I'm going to actually sign up for an account now. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's free. Freedom. America.
America, baby.
But
like, I want assholes to have more of a speech, like more of an outlet.
If you can find where the assholes are, then maybe you can make them less assholes.
There's an asshole there. I'm going to avoid that guy. Like, I don't want to have a hidden asshole in society. Like, be very upfront about being an asshole. It's fine. Like, I'm not going to invite you to my barbecue. Like, it's all good.
All right, so now you're being dismissive.
But you know what
I
mean?
get it.
Like,
I get it.
But like, you want to know who believes what?
Yeah.
You know, like, Like, I don't know if I could be friends with you if you say catsup instead of ketchup.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, I can't be friends with you. That's an
well,
O'Brien Regan joke.
You can see how people spell it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna wrap this up, Mike.
Yep.
I think we're both in agreement that freedom of speech. We need more. We need more speech. We need more free speech, and we need to engage each other more. And I think we're gonna leave it at that. I'm Jay Bosa, and on the other side of me we have Mike the Megalooch.
It's happening.
And we're gonna sign off here, guys. Thanks for listening.
Guys.